Hello viewers,
I am Apurva.
and I'm Aniket.
We are practicing advocates based in Nagpur.
Welcome to our brand new channel through which we are committed to be lawfully yours. In today's episode of Lawfully Yours, we will be discussing the recent landmark judgment of the Supreme Court in Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal, which was passed on 6th of March 2020, which overruled the full bench judgment of Supreme Court in Pune Municipal Corporation versus Harakchand Solanki, which was delivered in 2014.
Both these judgments are important to understand the law of lapsing in land acquisition proceedings. But before we straightaway go into the judgment and concepts of law of lapsing, we first need to understand the origin of the new act. Back in year 2011, the Congress-led UPA government was instrumental in introducing a new bill which was called the Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Bill of 2011.
The question is that the bill as amended be passed. Those in favour may say aye. Aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Now division.
Evidently, the said bill was passed with a thumping majority. The new law was precisely called as the Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013. This particular act came into force on 1st of January 2014. The new law repealed the century-old colonial law of the Land Acquisition Act 1894 and at the same time endeavoured to cure the defects of the old act by introducing the concepts of rehabilitation and resettlement which were completely non-existent in the old act.
The new act also introduced the concepts of undertaking social impact assessment study and the environmental impact assessment study prior to initiating land acquisition proceedings. The other key features of the new act are relatively enhanced compensation and a robust and transparent procedural mechanism to be adopted in a land acquisition proceeding.
Recently, the Supreme Court in the landmark judgment of Indore Development Authority put to rest all the ambiguities pertaining to Section 24 of the new Land Acquisition Act, which spoke about lapsing of land acquisition in certain cases. It is quite unfortunate that this judgment did not grab the eyes of many as mainstream media was busy covering then prevalent nationwide uproar due to Citizenship Amendment Act which was followed by a lockdown.
This episode of Lawfully Yours is an attempt to enlighten its audience about the entire gamut of events that led to passing of this landmark judgment and the reasoning adopted by the Supreme Court in settling the 6 long years of controversy revolving around Section 24.
Before we open Section 24, we first need to understand the concept of right to property in order to understand the rights of the government to acquire the immovable property owned by various individuals and private entities. Now, the evolution of right to property is broadly fourfold. Firstly, during the pre-British era, when the properties were owned by the kingdoms and they had absolute ownership over their lands. Secondly, when the Queen's sovereignty was proclaimed in India and the Britishers introduced the concept of ownership over private properties. Thirdly, when the Britishers introduced the concept of doctrine of eminent domain in form of Land Acquisition Act 1894, which basically meant the supreme power of the government to acquire the lands for public use without the consent of the landowners in return of a just compensation. And fourthly, post 1950, when the Constitution of India came into force, which safeguarded the right to property as a right.
Section 24 falls under the Chapter 4 of the new Act and is titled as Land Acquisition Process under Act No. 1 of 1894 shall be deemed to have lapsed in certain cases. Section 24 consists of 2 subsections and a proviso appearing after the subsection 2. Various cases and their necessary consequences are contemplated in these 2 subsections and the proviso. All these situations appearing in Section 24 are linked to the event of passing of award under Section 11 of the old Act.
Section 24 is basically a transitory provision of the new Act which talks about the applicability of the new Act to the land acquisition proceedings which were already commenced under the old Act. Now, subsection 1 of section 24 in isolation only talks about determination of compensation, which further contemplates two scenarios and has nothing to do with lapsing as the title suggests. Scenario 1 says that where the award under the old Act has not been made, the provisions of the new Act will apply insofar as determination of the compensation is concerned. And scenario 2 says that where the award under the old Act has already been made, then the proceedings shall continue under the provisions of the old Act as if the old Act has not been repealed.
Subsection 2, on the other hand, contemplates deemed lapsing of land acquisition proceeding in cases where the award under Section 11 of the old Act has been passed 5 years or more prior to the commencement of the new Act, that is before 1st of January 2009. Subsection 2 further contemplates two contingencies which should coexist with the award passed under Section 11 before 1st of January 2009 in order to qualify for the lapsing of the land acquisition proceedings. These two contingencies specified are where the physical possession has not been taken or where the compensation has not been paid to the landowners. If these contingencies are found, the land acquisition proceedings are deemed to have been lapsed and the land acquisition proceedings need to be initiated afresh according to the new Act at the discretion of the acquiring authority.
The entire controversy in interpreting section 24 essentially revolved around interpretation of the word or, which separates the two contingencies, and the interpretation of the word paid appearing in the second contingency. Now, the proviso appearing after subsection 2 considers a scenario where the award under section 11 with respect to multiple land holdings covered under single section 4 notification has been passed and the amount of compensation has not been deposited in the accounts of the beneficiaries of majority of land holdings. Then in that case, all the beneficiaries whose names are appearing in the said section 4 notification shall be entitled to compensation in accordance with the new Act.
Soon after the new Act came into force, the full bench of Supreme Court headed by Justice Lodha in Pune Municipal Corporation had the occasion to deal with the interpretation of the phrase compensation has not been paid as appearing in the second contingency of the subsection 2 of section 24. The issue before the full bench headed by Justice Lodha was related to deemed lapsing under section 24 in view of non-payment of compensation before 1st of January 2009. The stand taken by the acquiring authority was that even after the issuance of notice to the landowners, they failed to accept the compensation amount, and therefore in such a situation the acquiring authority had no other option but to deposit the compensation amount in the government treasury, and therefore there was no default on their part, and hence there was no deemed lapsing under subsection 2 of section 24. The Supreme Court, so as to render the decidendi, observed in the ratio that in order to determine the true meaning of the phrase compensation has not been paid, recourse to section 31 of the old Act has to be taken, which talks about the mode of payment of compensation amount. Section 31 clearly states that if the acquiring authority fails to pay the compensation amount to the landowners for any reasons stipulated in section 31 itself, then the acquiring authority mandatorily has to deposit such compensation amount in the court of reference under section 18 of the old Act. Pressing and relying upon the same rule, the Supreme Court finally held and laid down that the procedure prescribed in subsection 2 of section 31 is mandatory in nature, and the acquiring authority ought to have deposited the compensation amount in the court of reference under section 18 and not in the treasury of the government. More so, the court held that the word paid does not equate to terms offered or tendered, and hence the land acquisition proceeding stood lapsed.
Further, in the same year, that is in 2014, another question came for consideration before the Supreme Court in Sri Balaji Nagar Residential Association versus State of Tamil Nadu and others, which was that whether the period of stay or injunction granted by the court shall be computed while calculating the period of 5 years or more appearing in section 24 subsection 2. The court, by applying the doctrine of casus omissus or conscious omission, held that the presence of interim order will not in any way hinder the process of computation of period of 5 years, and that the legislature has consciously omitted to extend the period of 5 years even if the proceedings had been delayed on account of an order of stay or injunction granted by a court of law or for any other reason.
Surprisingly, even after the apex court having settled the issue of computation of 5 years or more, the government tried to overcome the judgment of Sri Balaji by introducing a proviso after the proviso appearing in section 24, in form of a second amendment bill of 2015 to the new act. The proposed amendment to the section 24 was with respect to retrospective exclusion of the time period in computing 5 years or more on account of any stay or injunction granted by the court. However, the bill got referred to the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which never finalized its report.
In 2016, the decision of Supreme Court in Sri Balaji was doubted by another same-strength bench of the Supreme Court in Yogesh Nima versus the state of Madhya Pradesh, wherein the disputed question of law was again with regards to the period of exclusion of interim order of the court, and therefore the said question was further referred to a larger bench for reconsideration.
On 7th of December 2017, for the first time, a two-judge bench headed by Justice Arun Mishra in Indore Development Authority versus Shailendra doubted the correctness of the decision of a full bench of Supreme Court in Pune Municipal Corporation. Surprisingly, instead of constituting a constitution bench, a same-strength bench headed by Justice Mishra was constituted to reconsider the decision of Pune Municipal Corporation.
On 8th of February 2018, a full bench headed by Justice Arun Mishra declared the decision of the full bench in Pune Municipal Corporation as per in curiam with a majority of 2:1 with Justice Shantan Gaudar dissenting on the same. Now Justice Shantan Gaudar dissented upon the same by observing in paragraph numbers 38 and 39 of the said judgment, and I quote, "In view of the discussion made supra, I conclude that I respectfully differ with the judgment in Pune Municipal Corporation and agree with the conclusion reached by my learned brothers. However, I may not subscribe to the views of my learned brothers that the judgment in Pune Municipal Corporation is rendered per in curiam. Hence, the proper course for me in light of reasoning and opinion is to refer the matter to a larger bench." Justice Shantan Gaudar observed the same by relying upon a judgment of the Supreme Court itself in Sant Lal Gupta versus Modern Cooperative Group Housing Society Limited. Clearly, the said decision rendered by Justice Arun Mishra in the full bench was largely criticized and was observed as against the judicial discipline for the reasons that one coordinate bench is rendering the decision of another coordinate bench as per in curiam.
On 21st of February 2018, a full bench of Supreme Court headed by Justice Madan Lokur in State of Haryana versus G.D. Goenka held that the pending cases before the Supreme Court be deferred until a decision is rendered one way or the other on the issue whether the matter should be referred to a larger bench or not. Therefore, the question in relation to reference of the issue to a larger bench was kept open by the court.
Amidst the question of constitution of larger bench was even decided, and the direction given by Justice Madan Lokur on the previous day itself regarding deferring all the cases revolving around section 24 was even acted upon. On the very next day, that is on 22nd of Feb 2018, two distinct benches of Supreme Court in State of Haryana versus Maharana Pratap Charitable Trust and in Indore Development Authority versus Shyam Verma, disregarding the hierarchy of directions, straightaway referred the issue revolving around section 24 to a larger bench.
On 6th of March 2018, a constitution bench came to be constituted, headed by the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Deepak Mishra, which deferred the hearing on the issue since an existing constitution bench was hearing the issue on constitutionality of section 377 of the Indian Penal Code.
Post formation of the constitution bench for almost a year, the sensitive issue relating to Section 24 remained pending before the Supreme Court. And it is only on 27th of Feb 2019 a fresh question relating to proviso to Section 24 came up for consideration in Delhi Development Authority versus Virender Lal Bohri and others. The issue in this case was with respect to application of proviso appearing in Section 24. And the question was that whether the proviso is a proviso to Section 24(1)(b) or whether it is a proviso to Section 24(2). The court headed by Justice Nariman observed that the proviso is a proviso to Section 24(1)(b) and not to Section 24(2) and laid down that the proviso is an exception to Section 24(1)(b) which benefits all the landowners and entitle all of them to fresh compensation under the new Act whose names are appearing in the single Section 4 notification in case the compensation is partially paid and has not been deposited in the accounts of majority of land holdings. Now, Justice Nariman in this case reasoned that if the proviso is applied to Section 24(2), then 1. It will create a lot of anomalies in fulfilling the contingencies of lapsing. 2. The proviso will go against the settled principles and will nullify the substantive provision contained in the main enactment. And 3. It will amount to addition of words and award being made 5 years or more prior to commencement of this Act in the proviso. And in my opinion also, one can clearly comprehend that the said reasoning is justified because the entire Section 24 subsection 1 also in isolation talks about determination of compensation, and so does the proviso. Therefore, it clearly appears to be a beneficial extension to the second scenario in subsection 24(1), which has not contemplated a case where majority of land holdings are concerned.
For the first time, the issue with respect to interpretation of Section 24 came to be listed on 6th of March 2018 before the Constitution Bench comprising of Chief Justice of India Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice Sikri, Justice Khanwilkar, Justice Chandrachud and Justice Bhushan in Indore Development Authority versus Shyam Verma. After a year, on 2nd of April 2019, a fresh constitution bench came to be constituted in a different case of Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal, comprising of Chief Justice of India Justice Ranjan Gogoi, Justice Ramanna, Justice Chandrachud, Justice Deepak Gupta and Justice Khanna, which took the cognizance of the case beforehand and asked the parties to formulate and suggest questions on which the constitution bench is required. Suddenly, after a couple of months, that is on 6th of November 2019, in an unprecedented manner, the pending issue before the existing constitution bench in Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal came to be listed before a newly formed constitution bench comprising of Justice Arun Mishra, Justice Banerjee, Justice Saran, Justice Shah and Justice Bhatt, which completely replaced the previous constitution bench. One will find that the previous constitution benches headed by Chief Justices of India Justice Deepak Mishra and Justice Ranjan Gogoi finds no mention in the final judgment of Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal. Therefore, a very logical question arises as to what led to the changing of constitution benches multiple times without dissolving the previous ones. The appointment of Justice Arun Mishra gathered a lot of controversy which led to many litigants and lawyers seeking his recusal. The impoverished beneficial litigants feared bias on the basis of predisposition of Justice Arun Mishra in the full bench judgment of Indore Development Authority versus Shailendra against the landowners. On 23rd of October 2019, Justice Mishra passed a detailed order on his recusal where he turned down the plea of recusal and chose to be a part of the constitution bench.
As one might now comprehend, after a series of complex events which ran over the period of 6 years since Pune Municipal Corporation's judgment, the controversial Section 24 finally rested in peace in Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal and others. The judgment was rendered on 6th of March 2020 by Justice Arun Mishra, which is recent in times. Broadly, I would say in the said judgment, vis-a-vis interpretation of Section 24 is based upon a cognizant court being overprotective about the negligibly possible misuse of the transitory provision of Section 24, which talks about lapsing. Now, the court has gone into various interpretational aspects to feed the legislative intent, and now I will briefly decipher the law on lapsing as it stands today in following 9 points. Number 1. If an award is not made as on 1st of January 2014, that is the date of commencement of the Act of 2013, then the compensation has to be quantified as per Act of 2013. Number 2. To qualify for lapsing, the period of interim order of the court has to be excluded while calculating the window of 5 years or more appearing in Section 24 subsection 2. Number 3. Both the contingencies laid down under Section 24 subsection 2 have to be fulfilled to initiate lapsing proceedings. The disjunctive or appearing in the Section 24 is to be read as nor or as and, meaning thereby for land acquisition proceedings to lapse under Section 24 subsection 2, the physical possession should not have been taken and the compensation should not have been paid. The reasoning adopted by the court was that when two negative actions join a sentence with a disjunctive or, then it is to be read as an adjunctive and. Number 4. The court also diluted the notion of physical possession. It held that physical possession also includes drawing of inquest report and memorandum, meaning thereby physical possession includes possession on paper. Number 5. The expression paid appearing in subsection 2 of Section 24 has nothing to do with deposition of amount in court under Section 31 of the old Act. Number 6. The compensation is deemed paid if the same has been tendered by the acquiring authority, and the deposition of compensation amount in government treasury too will amount to payment of compensation. Number 7. The proviso to Section 24 subsection 2 of the Act of 2013 is to be treated as the part of subsection 2 of Section 24 and not as the part of subsection 1b of Section 24. Number 8. That the quantum of compensation wherein the amount is not deposited in the court with respect to majority of land holdings for 5 years or more, in such a case all the landowners whose names are appearing in Section 4 notification shall be entitled to compensation in accordance with the new Act as on the date of such Section 4 notification of the old Act. And finally, number 9, which says that dead, stale and concluded cases cannot be revived or reopened under the provision of Section 24 of the new Act. Also, the judgments and orders of the court where the rights and claims are lost or negatived will not be invalidated.
Well, the story doesn't end there. In spite of the fact that the court in most express terms had already held that no concluded cases shall be reopened, yet on 16th of July 2020, a 3-judge bench, once again headed by Justice Arun Mishra, recalled the judgment in already concluded case of Pune Municipal Corporation versus Harakchand Solanki to be decided on merits. With this, we come to the end of our video. We hope we were able to make little bit of sense, and if you feel the same, do show your appreciation by liking this video or contacting us at contactlawfullyyours@gmail.com. It is highly advisable that the authorities cited in this video be referred to, and the same can be accessed from the link in the description below.
Do stay tuned with us for the next episode wherein we will be critically analyzing the judgment in Indore Development Authority versus Manohar Lal and others. Thank you.
Thank you.